All right. I think we are live now. Cool. All right, guys. Sorry, a couple minutes late. Trying to set up here in a new environment. A couple unexpected delays. How's everybody doing?
Ooh.
Good.
Excellent. All right, Lawrence, how are you?
I'm very good, and you?
Good, good. Yeah, doing well. It was an interesting week. As many of you know, we put all our stuff in storage and we took our RV halfway across the country from Texas to Ohio. So spent a little time with my family. I had a pretty disappointing and sad event happen this week for me personally. Someone who used to be a good friend of mine halfway across the country. Hold on one second. So let me get a mute all situation going on here. All right. Yeah, I just had a friend who he just turned 70. We were close friends for a long time, and then as I moved across the country, we didn't stay as close. But he went from being healthy to having like a stroke, and now he's on life support. It doesn't look like he's going to make it another 24 hours. So it's a reminder how fragile things are and how quickly things can change, and how important it is for us to get to where we want to get as quickly as possible and enjoy the journey. And one of the biggest correlators with happiness is gratitude. And if you guys don't practice this on a daily basis, I certainly recommend it, because you don't need a lot of money to be happy. You don't need to have like a bunch of clients, all these sites, right? Obviously, it's nice long term to not have the financial stress and be able to live life on your own terms. That's like why we're focused on this. That's the ultimate goal for this, right? And being able to help people. But if you're kind of like just going through life and not making any waves really, or like doing anything, then like it could be over. And we're always like making plans for our future selves. But like for my friend here, he had a lot of future plans. He always wanted to move to the Pacific Northwest. 70 years old, never did it. And then he's that's not going to be an option for him. So it's sad way to start off the call, but I think it's important for us to keep it in our mind often. We're not going to live forever. Let's make sure that we're making the right decisions. So with that being said, I'm going to go into a win now. For us, with that in mind, we've been thinking about living this RV life for years, right? We've been talking about it. We finally made the decision. I ended up getting sick while we were moving, so everything just kept getting like further and further delayed. And we ended up having like 3 days to go from Texas to Ohio and in our RV and be in time for this wedding that we were going to. And for our first couple nights, it was pretty awesome to have our RV. It started storming while we were driving, and we pulled over. We ended up sleeping like in a Walmart, but we basically shut the blinds, turned on the air conditioner, turned on like some music in the RV, and it was just like completely comfortable and relaxing. And it took like 5 minutes from the time we were on the highway till we were like set up. So pretty awesome experience. I'm starting to now like really get the excitement for the freedom that we're going to have. We're doing some modifications here in Ohio for the next week or so. And then I think we're going to be headed towards the East Coast. We talked about Maine. I know that Cape Cod's on our list. If any of you guys are in these areas, like I said last week, I would love to connect with as many of you guys as possible. I love meeting people. For me, that's what life is all about, is relationships with people. So to meet like-minded people, and a lot of you guys, we've spoken a bunch of times over the years, and I've never had the opportunity. So if you guys are up for it and we're coming in your area, just like send me a message. I'd love to grab some lunch, grab a drink, something like that. Just say hello. Okay, cool. So with that, let's move on to our wins. So who has done something awesome in the last week that is worth celebrating? It doesn't have to be huge, but what do we have? What have we created this week? Lou, what's up, brother? Let me unmute you.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Hey, man. How you doing? Welcome back, or
Thank you.
welcome to Ohio, or you're living the life, man.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share a small one, but I think it has a lot to do with you and Patrick and Jeff's coaching. So I have one of my first sites, a towing client. doubled his calls since like February or so. So I just made a really quick 2-minute video. I was like, look, here's your calls February. Here you are for March, da, da, da. I said, taking you from 22 to 55 calls. I'm moving the rent up to $300. I said, and he had there's like, he didn't bash an eyelash. And, but then he followed up with a call and he was like, dude, you're doing better than Google ads for me, better than Yelp. And I was like, and he's like, let me know if I can give you any referrals. And then I planted that seed of like, look, because he was like, I'll sign that for the next year if you want. I was like, well, look, $300 is like, you helped me get another GMB and you're one of my first clients. So I just want to kind of build the relationship because I felt like you didn't have that trust yet. I said, but ultimately I want to get you to $10 a call and get this to $1,000. So, and he's like, I'm on board. So I just think that was a great win of like, instead of worrying about building more sites or even optimizing, it's kind of like looking in your couch cushions about what money you've already got there and can extract more.
Yeah, absolutely, Lou. I mean, it's really good. And this is something that I harp on is kind of like this anchoring and positioning that we should be thinking about all the time, right? We don't want to get ourselves locked in where it's going to be a complete shock to the client when we move them to $1,000. So we need to mention this. And I always like to do it with the phrasing of, look, the only way this works long-term is if it's beneficial for us, right? So if you're paying me $1 for every $5 I put in your pocket, and I turn that $1 into $10, then it makes sense that we grow together, right? So using some of this phrasing and really letting them feel like we're on the same team kind of sets up the path and the framework for the future. Congrats on that, Lou. I know that $300 may not feel like a lot right now, but I'll tell you, I had a guy that was $500 a month for like 4 or 5 years now, and it's like, what is that? $50,000 plus, right? It adds up and it's mailbox money. And a lot of renters would kill to, or a lot of people that own houses as rentals would kill to have, like $300 for them. That could be a house. If you buy a $200,000 house, you got a mortgage, you set it up as a long-term rental, like you're going to be in that probably like $300 to $800 a month range after you pay all your stuff. So certainly nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that's awesome, man. And as you continue to like build this tow truck site, I mean, it seems like $1,000 a month. I mean, I don't know what city it's in, but like that's certainly a cost that can be justified if there's enough phone calls, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I charged him $10 a call, it'd be like $750 right now. So I don't think 1,000's even. I think I can easily get that in the next year. I've got 2 GMBs to it. I think I can put a third one, and like I said, he helped me get number 2, and I'm sure he'd be on board to help me get number 3. So, thank you. And the other thing I want to mention for everyone, a word you mention a lot in positioning is the word fair, which really does great. The other thing I use a lot is win-win. I think those 2 phrases really resonate with people that like you said, if I win for you, I need to win as well. And that's
right.
Right. And no one's going to disagree with that.
That's right. Yeah. It's really using the kind of magic words to get them to stop looking at you as an internet marketer and look at you as a business owner who's trying to get something where it's like successful for both of us. Right. And not just like this, like combative type nature where you're trying to pull money from them. Right. So letting them and having a little bit of warmth and explaining what you've done. Look, man, I've worked on this a lot. I spent a lot of time. It took me a long time to learn how to do this stuff. I'm just trying to like get this so it's beneficial for both of us, right? Because then like we can grow our businesses together, right? Using that tone and not being so formal can really change the mindset of this and let them know that you're a fellow human being, right? So it sounds simple, but I think, after hearing a lot of calls from other people and being in this industry for a while, I've just seen people act so formal in these situations. And I think that was some of the feedback that we got when Jeff and I did that kind of impromptu role play, right? Is that like, it was very casual, like the nature of it. And that's exactly how I do it on the calls, right? So congrats on that, Lou. That's really cool, man. What? We got some more wins, other people?
So congrats on that, Lou. I agree as well. And to tack on to what Patrick just said, it's a conversation, and that's all you're doing is having that conversation with other people. So it should be easy. And even though Jeff and Patrick did the role play and it seemed casual, well, that's what it's supposed to be. Just like it's business that you do every day, just like it's business that you've done every time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In the end, like whether it's business or we're sitting there at a bar having a beer with somebody, it's like it's people talking to people. And this kind of like casual nature when it's done with a professional kind of attitude towards it doesn't it kind of disarms the person, right? It takes them down to like a level where we're on a level playing field, and they start to understand that you're a person here as well. So cool. Thank you for that, Dave. It's good to see you, man, as always. Do we have some more wins? Eugene, what's up, brother?
Hey, nothing much, man. Yeah, I just wanted to share this one because we got a couple people signed up for the monthly. Definitely you and Jeff giving us advice on putting them on the trial, then kind of getting them prepped for the monthly instead of trying to do it like by percentage and have to chase down every lead and everything. That definitely helps speed up the process here. And so yeah, so we got a couple of them sold. So
Excellent, man. Very
huge wins.
cool.
And yeah, thanks. And yeah, sorry to hear about your situation with your friend too. That's
Yeah, it's
pretty terrible. It's pretty sad.
thank you. We go on not thinking that this can even happen, and then it does, and it's just like a wake up call, and I'm trying to like, instead of, I have this mindset of like, let me embrace the pain. Let me process this and kind of like just latch onto it almost, and like think about what it means and think about how it's always a possibility rather than just like putting it on the back shelf and not thinking about it, which makes it harder, in the short term. But I think it's just a healthy habit long term. Eugene, how are you liking Phoenix, man? Are you liking your new town?
I could be literally anywhere. I mean, I'm just so focused right now.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I kind of left my other job, maybe before I should have,
Yeah.
but like, so, it was kind of sink or swim kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just,
good.
I'm
It
out
sounds
here
like
focused.
it might be time for you to get an RV and travel around the country.
That's one of my goals eventually is once stuff is kind of running, I just want to have my laptop and just kind of be everywhere, so
Yeah,
have
we need
home base.
we need a caravan.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's
Awesome.
for sure. It's one of my whys right now. So, but
Very cool, man. Well, congrats on the trial clients, Eugene. All right. What else we got? Any other wins from anyone else?
Yeah, I've had a few wins. It's been a couple weeks since I've gotten.
What's up, brother?
So I moved. I'm actually right near Rhodes Ranch now. So
I used to live in Rhodes Ranch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm right in your neck of the woods, man. I could probably throw a stone and hit maybe the house you lived in. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I haven't been on the last couple of weeks. It's just been weird timing. We just moved out of our old place. So when was that? We had roommates, no longer have roommates because we now have skills that pay bills and we're on our own. Yeah. So that's a great one. And
that's the result of a long time coming, huh? To be able to, that's a life change based on this.
Yeah, and over the last 3 weeks, we've gotten 2 new SEO clients, 2 pre-sold lead gens, and then actually right after this call, we've got 2 sales meetings for 1 SEO and 1 lead gen. So
what's working for you right now, Devin?
A lot of things just kind of lined up all at once. Referrals started to come in where, like, for instance, one guy I was chasing down for 8 months on Facebook, just trying to provide value, sliding messages, just check on him, not be overbearing, but just always know. I know he had a really big pain point with his site. So I actually went out and I just took the risk of building him a site before realizing if he wanted it or not. And that was the thing that finally got me through. And he's a pretty active member in a Facebook group for the niche, which it's junk removal, I don't have any issue with sharing it's down and dirty, but he's very active at posting. So he's referred me to at least 10 plus people. Some other results just started to come in with leads getting produced, and it's just spreading. So
Very cool, man. I love it. It really, you know, whether we're giving people free leads or whether we're building them a site, part of this hurdle that we have to overcome with a new client is trust. And when you kind of like do this step first, you know, it's like, if you guys haven't read, I think it's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's the theory of reciprocity is very strong, right? And when you go out of your way and you do something for someone like this, it really like has a big impact on people, and you can kind of see the results. Like you showed that you were willing to take a risk, and it's very hard. You put this guy in a corner where it's like it's hard for him not to commit at that point. Where it's just like, man, like who else would do this? So that's awesome, man. I love that move, and it's actually not a huge risk because like if this doesn't work out, you could just like spin the site into a lead gen or something else, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we've done. We built out, there was 3 other people over the last couple of weeks I had attempted it with. And once it got to things like price, just different parts of the conversation, it fell through. But it's like, well, I've already built out the site anyway, so I can just change out
Right.
just a few more pictures and just put them up. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a lot of cost. And it's just, I think getting the reps under, like that's really been the thing. I've made more offers and had more conversations with people in the last 3 weeks than probably the first half of 2021. So
Wow, it's crazy. It's crazy when we start to realize like what we are really capable of, right? Like, and how far from that we can like trick ourselves into thinking that we're like doing everything we can because we're busy, right? And maybe we're just not doing the right actions. So let me ask you this: what's to stop you from taking some of your existing sites and like copying those and putting different branding on it for some of these people that you just want to pitch something to real quickly, right? Like it doesn't have to be like your long-term site, but it could just be like, hey, here's something that I've thrown together. Let me know what you think, right? And then you could go back and edit the text and pictures and stuff like that. And that way you could potentially have several of these a day where you're not having to build a site each time, right? Have you thought about that?
yeah, and I even attempted to do something somewhat of that method. And so it's really now just kind of taking that Henry Ford fine-tune approach of the assembly line and realizing like, okay, every time I get to this point, I realize it's slowing me down. How can I train someone, hire
Right.
someone with it? It's really just been the reps of it. Cause like I've realized pretty quickly, I don't like building too many sites all at once for people because it's like, I might have a vision and idea of what I think their site might like. And then once they say yes, then they go, oh, can we change this? Can we change that? They want it to be their site, which is fine. But then it's on me to realize, okay, how can I actually get a responsive team together to do that and scale it? So that's pretty much where we're at right now with it. It's just figuring out how to expedite and speed up the process.
Very cool, man. I like where your mind's at. I can tell that, and this happened while you were moving, right?
Oh yeah, it's been awful.
So it's like,
it's a great problem, but it's been awful.
but it goes to show you that like obviously moving, I just went through it myself. It takes up a tremendous amount of time, and you were able to kind of have one of your highest levels of production while you had this like big life drain going on at the same time, right? So it's just I think it's important to note that and to like latch onto this as you move forward and you don't have the stress of move. Make sure that you continue to play at this level, right? And you kind of know maybe you've gone from you were at 30% and now you're at 80%, and maybe there's still even more in the tank, right? So you know that. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't even, I feel like maybe now I'm at 30%, it's
okay.
like once you start to realize, because once I had all these people come to me all at once, it was like, oh crap, now it's a new problem to solve. And it's like, well, I'm already paying online jobs.ph each month. I better start getting out some job posts, I better start interviewing people, and then starting to set the precedent of like, yeah, this is an opportunity to where you can one day start to oversee people. So that's already seated with them that like, I want growth-minded people too.
Right. How many people do you have in your agency now?
Not many. I have a content writer, a backlinker, and then we just got a site builder. So
Okay, cool. I think it's as this agency grows for you and you start to get more of these people coming in, you want to be keeping your eyes open for a potential manager that can manage some of these things for you. You know, we've got 3 of them on our team, and I took the time and I took the investment. It was a long time period before I kind of selected the people, and I was very choosy. I was very selective with that decision, but it made a big difference to kind of not have this such a flat structure where we're managing everyone, and to have the managers be able to delegate and manage, and then they funnel up some of the problems, and we do a weekly meeting where we talk with them. So that's allowed me to spend my time building out the software, right? So it's just something you want to keep your eye on as you're starting to bring these people on, and like, does this person have the potential to be a manager? And you should be thinking about that in the hiring process, because it's going to be, I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to spend more time trying to hire the right person than it is to go back and get rid of people, especially when there's training that's involved before they're going to be productive, right? So I was talking to Caleb, and I think it's like month 3 that he decided was like the break-even point for an employee with him, or I can't remember if it was in his agency or when he was working at Exxon, where he said that, the first month is a loss, the second month is kind of like break-even, and the third month was where it started to become positive, because you're spending so much time training, and it's taking your time away. So you can't be as effective because you're spending it with this person. So just this hiring, I think it's more and more important. Over the weekend, I'm home. This is where I grew up. And I have a friend who he's the same age as me. He's been a manager of like these big plants and these different, he's a mechanical engineer, and he's been a manager of these different plants. And this one was a pipe fitting plant, or this piping plant in like Arizona. And it had been in business for over 100 years. And he, after like 6 months, he had made the plant more efficient. It was the most efficient plant. And it was in like the worst part of the country. Like it was in, I can't remember, like some city that had a lot of problems in Arizona. And one of the things that he does and has done is he reads a lot of management books and a lot of like efficiency type manager books. And there's no reason that we can't apply some of these processes to our businesses. So I've actually talked to him about hiring him to come into my company and to try to make things more efficient. But from an educational standpoint, if you guys aren't in that spot, then what can we do? How can we learn some of this stuff? And I would encourage you guys reading and studying this stuff. It's not going to be an overnight success, but if you are planning long-term for this to be your career, these are the things that are going to matter, is getting these efficiencies in place. And this is stuff that can 100% be learned. A lot of us, we came into this and we've been taught how to rank the sites and stuff, but that doesn't mean that we've been taught how to like manage a business and understand all the different like metrics and all this stuff that we should be thinking about. And I think it's after having a long conversation with him over the weekend, it's where my mind has been for the last year. But it just like, even though I've been studying it, I just see so much opportunity for for improvement. And some of you guys, depending on your background, maybe you've come from managing businesses into this, maybe this is second nature for you, but I think a lot of us don't have that skill set built in, right? So, all right. Do we have any more wins? Congrats on that stuff, Devin. I love where your mindset's at, man. It seems like you're heading in an awesome direction, man. So it's very cool to see.
Yeah, thanks. And one of the books that you were just talking about that really, I think, started to help that with me was the E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
Technician, manager, entrepreneur. And it's like literally the other day I was working on an infographic and it took me like definitely at least 2 hours. And after like one moment, I'm changing a picture. I just had some moment like, what the hell am I doing here? And it was just one on Fiverr. It's like,
that's right. That's a less than $10 an hour activity, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, cool. Before we move on, do we have any final wins? Jeff, help me out if I missed any.
I don't see any, Patrick, in the Facebook chat or anything, but I appreciate the people.
Jeff, do you have any wins from our business?
Do I have any wins from our business? It's the first of the month. It's always a little wonky, trying to.
I think we have a new person in Northern Maryland on a trial, right?
We do have a new trial client in Northern Maryland. That got kind of wonky because we had a good client in Virginia and then gave him Maryland, and he was only the lower half of the state. So now we have a really unique situation in the agency where we're trying to split the calls between Northern and Southern Maryland, because we have multiple GMBs across the state, and they're crossing over, overlapping, in other words. So it's not like an even split with the GMBs, and it's kind of wonky. So we had a long chat in our manager chat yesterday about how to maybe approach that. So, you know, there's always challenges, right? And so we're just trying to figure out the best way to split those up and serve the existing client the best that we can, and then also make more money by getting this new client, you know, enough business in the right areas to make it valuable enough for him to pay too. So we'll be turning those two states into a pretty significant income for the company. I would say that would probably be, after we're all said and done, if we can get them to where we want, like 6-7 grand just for those two states, I think we can get that too. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. That one's
yeah.
kind of been a roller coaster, right? Like, so I like to share this stuff with you. It's not all about sharing the wins, right? Some of it's the journey, because if you can identify yourself as on a part of this journey, then maybe it can be encouraging. So this is how it went down. We had a client that was a referral in Maryland, and we had another one in Virginia. And the guy in Virginia, when it was time to pay, started ghosting us. So then, just like I tell you guys, we went out and we tried to find someone else. Okay, we're having a hard time finding someone else. Meanwhile, we're building out for this guy in Maryland, and it took a little while. We tried to prep him. He had some personal things that he was going through too, but he started ghosting us as well. So those were like side by side. And then Jeff had found a person in Virginia, and that person was like really happy.
Like 4 months. Probably took like 4 or 5 months to prospect Maryland and find the right guy. And that's the guy we talked about on a previous call. He's like,
We talked about him as a
25.
previous win. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we started giving him Maryland. So it went from like 0 in both markets to 3,000 between the two markets, right? And now like the Northern is probably going to make it 4,500. This thing is less. I think we started this in like August or something like that. So it's less than a year old.
Yeah.
It's going to be at probably 4,500 in the next couple of weeks. I would think we're going to, like we usually do our billing on the 1st. I think we're probably going to do some sort of proration for June, or on July 1st. It's going to be up to 4,500. So we've gone from like 0 to 4,500 over the last couple months. And then what's going to happen next, because these sites are low, there's no reason, like Jeff said, that we can't get this to like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. Once, like, this guy, he really wants to grow. He's aggressive. He's trying to move his dad over into this area so that he can help out with the business. But we're still kind of in the infancy of this site. I never think that we're completely dialed in within the first 12 months, right? I think it's things continue to grow. So I think look at this. It may be the spring before we hit this number, but I think we're going to get to that like $7,000 a month number. So that would be about a year and a half into it. $7,000. That's almost, that's almost $100,000 a year, right? That's like, what is that? 84,000 or something. So this is just what's happened over the course of, at that point will be a year and a half. And we were 4 or 5 months, we were at $0 a month. So if you're in that spot where there's calls coming in and you can't seem to find the right client, like, we don't know, but there's like, as long as we continue to prospect, as long as we continue to focus on this, like this is like, I'm not surprised at all that it went this way. This has kind of become an expectation. And when you don't have the reps, that expectation might not be there. But maybe hearing our story of how it works and us telling you our strategies every week, then you can start to believe in this expectation. And when you feel it and it happens a few times, then I think it will start to be an expectation for you as well. So I like to share those bumpy roads and then what it turns into, just so you guys can kind of like see this picture. I know that one of my favorite people, Mr. Paul Myers, has his hand up. What's up, brother?
Hey guys, how are you? Not a win, a question. Okay, so my big win a couple of months back, 9 grand. for a couple of lead gens, works down to $5,000, works down to $3,000. Then they ditch my GMB. So they must have reported 3 of my GMBs. They're all gone. Working a new contractor now. What is, and I know this, but it doesn't seem to be working. What is your, how do you get these guys? So I'm working a few contractors now. How do you get these guys to, so the lead comes in from ABC Motors, right? But this guy is John's car repair. How are you making him understand that the lead came through from ABC Motors without giving up your assets for ABC Motors so he doesn't report the GMB? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm finding this major disconnect with people. This one couple I had last month, they're idiots, but whatever. They had like 25 leads. I go in as ABC Motors, right? That's where the lead came from. And they're going in as EFG, and there's a disconnect. So the customer's like, well, I thought you were, and in this space, any sort of skepticism, it's like, okay, customer's out. So
Right.
It was their fault for not bridging it. I always say, look, ABC Motors is a division of EFG Transportation. So you're going to see a quote coming in from. How do you guys handle that? Because I'm running into it more often than not with people that can't deal with this on the phone.
Right. I think it's good to have like a blended strategy. So that could be like, so what was it? It was ABC Motors, and what was the other one?
Well, just call it EFG car
Okay.
repair.
So like answering the phone with like this, well, I mean, that's a tough example, but like, let's say that it's like Paul's fencing company is my client, and I've got it in, let's say, Toronto, right? So
Right.
my GMB says like Toronto Fencing Company.
Right.
And what if I answered the phone and I was like, hey, this is Paul's Fencing Company in Toronto, right? Or like kind of blending it in there. We've put their logos on it. I personally have never had anyone like, I've heard this thought process that when we lose a GMB shortly after the client, like maybe bad blood or whatever, that we assume that it was them that reported it, which may or may not be the case. Like my thought process is, I don't think that's what happened, because most business owners, like even like us SEOs, like it's hard. Like you can't just like shut down someone's GMB. Like if you went to my GMB and said, hey, this isn't a real business, like it's probably not going to shut it down. Right. So now let's dumb it down and say I'm some business owner that like doesn't know anything about Google. Like it would be surprising to me if they had that capability to just like somehow get it revoked. I don't 100% like worry that they're going to do that. I never try to have bad blood, so maybe that's like helps prevent it, right?
Yeah. But Patrick, so a lead came through for one of my sites. I've got it sitting in my hand, and I've got a contractor I'm talking to, in this case on Messenger right now. How am I telling him, hey, listen, it's a lead from Hamilton Kitchen Renovations, and he's Joe's Renovations? How do I bridge that with him in a Messenger conversation or even on the phone? So this, because he doesn't know me.
So how do you bridge it with the lead, or how do you bridge it with the client?
No, with the contractor, the guy that's going to call these people and say, hey, it's John from, he may not say it's coming from my site, even though I tell him that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I got you.
Very messy.
This is one of the first questions I asked when I came into this business model. And part of it, there's a, it's convincing the contractor to be a little bit of a salesman on some level, right? Because like I'm giving you this remodeling lead, right? And like, this is somebody who's searching for the service that you do, right? This is someone who's raised their hand and said, I need this service. So yes, they think that this has this name. Can you successfully, if I were to give you an SEO client that came for Patrick's SEO, if I gave that to Paul Paul, can you turn that, or you're like, look, I called Paul, or I called Patrick's, right? Like, so there's a part that they're going to have to be a little bit of a salesman. And part of that ability for them to be a good salesman with this particular problem, I think revolves around your ability to phrase this and show them how this can work and not answer the phone with like the wrong name when they can get the whisper message and know who it's coming from, right? This is like, look, I would even say maybe up front, you could just say, look, we've done this all over the country, and we've had clients that have tried to explain to them that you should answer the phone and consistent with what the whisper message is, because that's going to result in you being able to go and do more appointments. If this comes up in the appointment, now you're face to face with them. Like, this is a lot easier conversation that you can say, look, we've got a couple companies that we're working with here. We own these different sites. We've merged, whatever it is, bridge the gap. If you get me on the phone with somebody who's looking for SEO, but they came from Paul's, I think I have a really good chance that that's going to turn into something for me. If like, I'm going to bridge that gap almost every time, right? I know there's going to be some people are squirrely, so it's hard because we're trying to get contractors who are not always like good people, right, to have this conversation. But we've gone so far as to put their logo on our site too, so that way they can see it, and like we just pull it off. Because like, again, I'm not really worried about them destroying my GMB or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. I mean, we've got tons of clients. We've been in this for more than 5 years, and it's happened 0 times for me. So
yeah, okay. So that's the dance I do with them when I can get them on the phone and explain it. But when I'm prospecting a brand new contractor and I want to throw him some value in advance, some leads for no charge, very difficult to go down that road. The guy doesn't know you, like you, or trust you. There's no relationship. I feel like I'm the one that's being kind of scammy to him, and it's not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know this guy. He's just texting me now on Messenger, coming back from my message to him saying I'm looking for a contractor in this specific area. So how do you frame it to
I
this
find
guy?
that most of them, I don't know if my internet's working here, but I think I'm jammed out. I apologize, Paul. My the thing that I was chatting about in the group earlier this week is kind of like the same deal where I prospected them and they came back to me, and he called the first lead that I gave him, and then he was like, oh, what's going on here? I don't really understand. This is exactly the same situation. How do I bridge the gap? So he came back to me smartly, because he's the sales guy. He was smart enough to say, what's all the information? Give me all the details around the situation. So when I call these other 4 leads, then I know what's up. Right? What's going on here? So that was a really good thing for him to do, and I was able to walk him through that. Sometimes it's a little bit of an issue with people, but most of the time, if I just explain to them, if they're hungry enough for the business, like they get it, and they're willing to drop into the situation in a way that they're going to be able to convert, in other words. So it's an issue, but it's never been a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can you drop just drop me a message on what that opening line looks like? Like I would normally say to a guy, these are some opportunities I have. Let's try a few of them, and I'll send them a few of them. Name, email, phone number, and I'll tell them, look, these opportunities came from Hamilton kitchen renovations. So let's go, down that road, or whatever the renovation thing is. Make sure you're identifying.
There are a couple of threads in the chats, all
Okay.
So you can read through them. But I mean, opening line is, do you work in this city? I mean, let's keep it stupid simple, right? So I'm not going into a whole bunch of detail. They're like, yeah, we work up there. I'm like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Like, can you handle this? And then he calls me the next day and said, well, I called the first one back and I realized I didn't know what was going on. So then I called you to figure it out.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's my kind of, right? That's who I want on, with me, right?
Thanks, guys.
So, yeah.
You're welcome, Paul. Does that clear it up? I know that wasn't like a really clean answer, but there's.
Yep, that's all good. I appreciate that.
Okay, cool. All right. So I know that there's a few of you guys that are waiting for our releases, and we keep kind of pushing things back. Like reputation management, I know is a big one. I don't want to put a date on it. I'll let you know that we're working on it. Most of the people on my team are working more than 40 hours a week to try to get this stuff out. We have a collection of big updates, as you guys have seen on the various demos over the last 2 months. We're struggling a little bit. There's so many different dependencies with these things. They're going to come out in one big batch. So it's probably going to start off with the contacts module, where I've demoed this. It's going to be a way for you guys to import contacts all at once, and this is very related to the reputation management. The next one is going to be the pipeline. So I'm hoping, and don't hold me to this, but I'm hoping to get 2 of these out this week. And it's just kind of like depending on errors. So in like what tickets come up and how long they're going to take for us to solve them. So I appreciate your guys' patience. It's certainly not something that we're neglecting or trying to drag our feet on. We're working very hard to get this stuff out. It's just some of the stuff gets unpredictable. I know that the user role is one of the ones that you guys have been waiting for a long time. I'm going to demo that real quick, what we have, and I'm excited for this one. And then after this batch and after the user role, the next one is the campaign builder. So can someone give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Devin? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So this is what is going to become of the user when we set up users, or when you guys edit user. You're going to have this kind of functionality in here. You can see up here in the top right, we have the name of the role. And if you were to click on new role, it's going to ask you to enter the name of the role, and then you're going to come over here. And basically what you're going to be able to do is create your own user roles, and then you're going to be able to assign a long list of permissions to them. So like the ability to see and edit subscriptions, and can make purchases, can view and edit or create users, companies, integrations, notifications. So you can, if these are off, as you see they are for all this, the system one will be on for every user. And then you can decide what modules you want people to be able to see here. So if I turn on the lead management module, now it's going to open up all these permissions. So I can decide within this what they can see. And you can see, since we have pipeline coming out really soon, can they see spam filters? Can they send leads? Can they see the calls? Can they activate a company? All these different things, right? So this is kind of how we're going to do it. So same with reputation management, what functionality they have here. And we're just going to apply this all the way down the line to all the different modules. And then from here, we'll fine tune it more and more and just kind of build on this. This is a huge update for us. It's very time consuming. So I'm hoping to have this user role one out within the next 2 weeks or so. But again, development is always unpredictable, especially when we're shifting things around. But I know that a lot of you guys have been patiently waiting for this. So this is kind of what we've been working on. And, when I say we're working on it, it's not some tactic to buy time. We're actually like building it and working on it. And what I've learned is, as the system grows, some of these integrations like user roles and the campaign builder, they become more and more complex because you're balancing a lot of different relationships at the same time. So this is what's coming. I think it's going to give you guys a ton of flexibility. You can make as many user roles as you want. You can assign them and change them at any time. So you won't be locked into anything that we have pre-set up. So coming real soon. Okay, so hopefully that will give you guys some of the flexibility that you're looking for. I know that a lot of you guys have been asking for this stuff. Okay, all right. Any questions or comments on that before we move on? All good? All right, cool. So we have our spotlight tonight, and I don't 100% know how to pronounce your name. So I believe it. Preeti. Preeti? Preeti? Okay. All right, Preeti, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you located? I think are you in Vegas?
Yeah, I'm based out of Vegas. And I'm about 8 months into JK, and just recently, like my win was basically that I just got my first call / first like interaction with a business owner. So it was kind of related to that. But yeah, it's pretty much where I'm at. Like I'm finally at a place where I feel like I've took the time to like observe and study everything and understand it. And now I'm like really implementing like a lot more, and also on the sales side.
Awesome. Awesome. So you got your first call. So you obviously have at least one site, and now it sounds like your site is starting to rank.
Yeah, so I am also part of the squad, so that kind of helped like be a catalyst for me to scale more, because then I built 10 more sites on that first sprint. So I have 15 sites in total right
Okay.
now, but I did realize some of them are like not the best niches. So I would say I have like 10 or 11 sites that like have potential. But yeah, so basically what happened was I followed this prospecting technique that Dan talked about in a live once, and it just worked so well for me. So that's why I'd love to share a little bit about it in case it might like be a good thing for some other people to try. But yeah, I didn't expect the site to get a lead as soon as it did. So it's exciting, but then it's like you said, this business never stops. So then once you're at one milestone and one threshold, then you have to think about the next 5, 10 things like billing and invoicing and how to set all that stuff up or whatever. But yeah, the prospecting technique was this like 3-way call method. I don't know if you guys ever seen that live stream Dan did a few months ago, where he pretty much like kind of like went over it a little bit. And to me, it made so much sense. So I was like, when I get my first lead, I'm doing that, because like that just sounds like it would work. And so basically what you do is like, right now I have the call sling numbers routing to my phone, which may or may not be a good idea, because now it's like I'm starting to get more home advisor calls and all that stuff. But I took the calls. So I got this call in, and it was a real lead. And I was like, okay, cool. And then in following Dan's thing, it's when I cold called a bunch of businesses in the town my site's in. Half of them didn't answer their phone. One of them wasn't interested in growing his business. And then I finally got a hold of a guy who I just pitched this thing like, hey, I have a lead. His name is Tony. He's looking for X, Y, and Z things. This is his budget. But I'm not a contractor. I'm a marketer. Do you want to hop on a quick 3-way call? That way we can both kind of see like the quality control of this lead. You can see that I'm giving you a good lead, and then we can kind of talk from there. And he was down for it. So then I just called both of them up, and we're in this 3-way call. And I just kind of introduced them, and I said, I'm just going to be on the fly on the wall, just take some notes, and but you guys do your thing and you guys hash it out. So they talked about it that way. I also, since this isn't on, like, it's not on his number on the call sling yet, so I also wanted to hear to know what was going on in terms of like what they were talking about, what the deal was. And it was pretty high ticket. Like, that's why I got into this niche. So it was like a pretty big job that I passed off. And then after that, like the call went well, and he was like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is like probably what it would cost. I'll email you an estimate. And the business owner sounded pretty good on the phone. Like, he was kind of hungry to close it, at least, or so I thought so far. And then I called him back. And again, like everything we were talking about in the beginning of this call kind of resonated with me, like just being casual and disarming. And I was just like, okay, cool. Well, I'm definitely open to putting your phone number on my tracking number, but I just said it in a nice way, like where it's like, it's a win. I said win-win and all that stuff. And I pointed out that home advisors cost per lead for that particular term is $100. And I would just ask if like going forward, we can start to do like pay per lead, like a $30 per lead thing. And he actually agreed to that. Like, so by the end of the call, we had a verbal agreement of $30 a lead and moving to flat rate. So that was cool. Like for me, I like that, because one thing I'm trying to figure out since I'm new is, and maybe my thinking is flawed, so let me know, but like, I kind of feel like, why should I give anyone more than one free lead? Because I feel like that's already so much initial value and initial work up front. So I feel like by doing the 3-way call, it's like, yeah, that's all yours. I helped set it up for you. But after that, if we're doing this, like it could be pay per lead, and then we could talk like down the road about like flat rate or commission or that kind of stuff.
Right. You've
but my
kind of
goal,
you've kind of further qualified the lead, and I think it has. I think this is a great strategy. I love it. I have a couple questions about it. First, like the first thing, when you said it's 100 for home advisor and you took 30, like that to me is like, I would be looking for 100. And then, if I wasn't taking 100, I would want like 50 or 75, right? I think that's I don't want you to undersell yourself, but it's easier at 30 to kind of close the deal for this paper lead. Mike, one of the questions I have for you is, how do you introduce yourself? Like, who does the caller think you are in this equation if they're like calling you and then you're passing it off to someone else. I'm just like wondering how did you orchestrate that part of that?
How did I orchestrate the part where the lead came in, or when I spoke to the
Lead comes
business
in.
owner?
Yeah, the lead comes in, and then you said like, hey, let me get you to like let me get you to like one of our crew leaders or something like that. What did you tell the caller when they called?
Oh yeah, so when I called, I actually missed their call, but then I called them back and I was just like, yeah, I run a couple lines because I wanted to clarify that I was calling back from my area code phone number, so it wasn't confusing. But I was just like, yeah, I run a couple lines. I have a guy who does like such and such. So, and he was like, okay, cool. So
Okay.
it wasn't like, for me, that was like in passing, like it wasn't a big like event of that introduction.
Right.
So I guess it worked out with him. He wasn't like wondering who I was, if not the contractor.
Right. So this is kind of what Paul was just asking about a few minutes ago, right? This is like a potential way that he could handle this until he gets someone in place and then has the calls going directly to them. So then you called them back and you said, hey, it's me again. I have like so-and-so on the line here now. I'm going to let you guys kind of work it from here. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all the play-by-play was that first the lead called me. I talked to him. I gathered like a few basic details. Then I cold called the business owners, got someone named Brandon who was okay with taking it. Then I texted the lead because I didn't want too much hours to pass. I just wanted to make sure he
Right.
knew I was like still there. So I texted him and was like, my guy Brandon and I will call you in an hour. And yeah, that's how it went down. Then I just called them and it was fine. Then I followed up with the business owner.
Yeah, I really like this strategy. I think it's great to be able to you have right in front of you evidence of this, and the business owner is aware that you're like that he booked an appointment, that it's a hot, like all this stuff is on the table, instead of them thinking they can like hide and like this wasn't really a lead, all that nonsense. Like you're on the call with them. So I feel like that part of it makes it easier for you to have this next conversation where you're like, hey, moving forward, it's got to be this, right? And then long term, I want to have it. So I love it. I think this is a great strategy. And, I think the strategy may not be for everyone. I think there's some there's like a social aspect to this where you said you kind of like breeze by that, where that might not be easy for everyone to do. Right?
Exactly. It's definitely kind of niche based. I mean, with some of these contractors, they're more casual. And I also learned that they're really about like talking on the phone as opposed to texting or anything. So I kind of got that vibe from the business owner, Brandon. So if I ever hit him up again, like to do a follow-up, I just give him a call and say, hey, can you hop on Zoom? Because we're having our like follow-up Zoom call where I actually have like the discovery call to ask him questions about his business and stuff. So I think it works. Like you have to just mirror the customer a little bit, or like feel out the niches if it's super buttoned up or if it's not, and more casual as well.
Absolutely.
So.
I think another positive part of the strategy is because this was I don't think this strategy is going to work very well in lower ticket niches, but when it's higher, and if this was like a tow truck and you're like, hey, like I just feel like that's not going to build the same type of relationship. It's not going to have the same impact on the potential client that it would when it's a high ticket, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So,
sure.
But I think this is an awesome strategy. So let's kind of like go back to you now. So thank you for sharing that. I think this will be really helpful. Maybe Jeff, I would love to, like, it seems like something where we have some situations like this, where we have calls that we don't have a client for yet, and we have someone taking them. So it could be a good way for like, maybe we'll try this in our agency too, but let's shift the focus back towards you. So you've got 15 sites built. You realize that some of these are not in the best niches. So that there's like, it sounded like you had 10 sites and then you recently added on 5 more. Did I pick up that right?
No. So initially I had like 5, and then once I did like the challenge of the sprint, it was like another 10. So I just recently, in the last couple months, have another 10.
So you've got 10 that are pretty new, that are less than 3 months old, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got 5, and I bet the ones that were not the best niches are like more in those original 5.
Yeah, the bulk of them are. Then there's 1 or 2 I'm skeptical about, but then again, I'm still feeling it out. Like there's some things I just don't understand, like what works yet in certain marketplaces, or like which ones need more branding. For example, like one of the niches is custom furniture, and then I realized like that might be too like I need someone's face on it or someone's branding on that. So they have, because a lot of the other websites, it's like whoever's name, like this is the designer and this is what they do. And it's like more personal, but I could be wrong about that. So
Okay.
it could work.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I would look at the branding after I have the site ranking and it's not producing. Like if I have the site ranking and it has a lot of reviews, then I'm going to
Mhm.
start jumping to these assumptions and maybe try
Right.
to get more of the branding in there. But we've hired people to come work on our furniture and stuff like that in the past, and I never even thought about the branding. I was just like, who can get here and who sounds legit, right? So, but like maybe I'm not the typical, or maybe like I'm not hiring them for the service that the site's built for. So, okay, so let's talk more. It sounds like you've got some
Mhm.
struggling points with you're not sure if these are good niches. Can we explore that a little bit? What does that look like? Why are they not good niches? What are you worried about? Is
Yeah.
there anything that you can share on this?
Yeah, we can explore that. I mean, I also have a couple questions just related to this situation with the contractor on like how to play the follow-up call tomorrow and like
Mhm.
stuff like that. But yeah, with the niches, I'm not too worried about it because it's my first 15 sites. Like I have to do some trial and error, and I accept that. Like some of them might not hit, but for the most part, I think like most of them should be doable. Some might take longer. This niche, the one that I got the lead for, I thought would be my hardest website. So sometimes it's just weird that like it just kind of works out with some of them, especially if the GMB, if after I got the GMB verified, it just started to climb up really fast. And one difference on this website is that I did all the content writing, and I actually think I'm like a decent writer. So I think that helped, but I don't usually want to spend the time doing the writing. So for my other sites, I did outsource it. But maybe now I'm realizing that, hey, maybe I don't mind doing the writing so much. It just takes up time. So maybe I can start to outsource the backlinking and that stuff so I can focus on the writing, because that could be a factor in why it started to climb up a little faster than my other websites.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's like 1,000 factors that are going to influence how, and writing is one of them, but I think there's 999 other ones.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to not just like make that assumption. Like, and that's obviously not like, I'm not denigrating your writing ability. I think long
No,
term,
yeah. Mhm.
for you to scale this thing, you don't need to be doing the writing, and you shouldn't be doing
Right.
the writing, even if you enjoy it. Like long term, scalability is not you doing an hourly rate that you can pay someone for. And what I've gone out and I've done is I've found good writers, right? Like there's other
Yeah.
people who can write as well as you, or potentially
Oh,
better than
totally.
you.
Just have to
So
pay a premium. Like,
right, and maybe not even that much of a premium. Like you get enough like lines in the water. You just have to get lucky and find like a good content writer, right? So we've got several, and I encourage people to try Indeed. That's a good way to find writers. There's a lot of people that have gone to like writing school, and they've written for news. We hired somebody that was writing for a newspaper. Like he was a professional writer, and his writing was substantially better than many of the other writers that we had. So those people are out there. And if you go from paying like 3 cents a word to 5 cents a word, but like the 5 cents a word means that it doesn't have to be edited, and it's just like it's going to be good every time, and it can potentially help the site rank better, then it seems like it's certainly worth it. But
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So let's talk about your follow-up call. What are the questions you have for tomorrow?
Well, I just want to like be able to have an offer by the end and like be confident in speaking on it, because we did verbally agree to pay per lead, but I don't have any of those systems in place. Like I don't have an LLC, I don't have any like invoicing or automatic billing. And so I was kind of like looking in the group and seeing what other people are doing. Some people use things like Stripe or Wave accounting. So I just want to have that system in place. So
Yeah.
if we do decide to do pay per lead, like I'll make an account to whatever I need to tonight, so I can just like take his card tomorrow and like set it up, because I don't want to be wishy-washy on like the onboarding after he did agree to something. And I also originally was wondering if I should just do the discovery call tomorrow, just ask him questions about his business and then follow up and talk about pricing. But I feel like at this point we built enough rapport that And we already kind of have a sort of agreement that I could probably bring it up tomorrow by the end.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So a couple systems that I would recommend. I think that, there's a lot of what we have used is Stripe. I like Stripe. It
Oh.
integrates really well with a lot of things. It connects to an invoicing program called PandaDoc, which is, I think I searched for like a discount code, and it's $23 a month for PandaDoc, which connects to Stripe. So what I like about PandaDoc, and I'll tell you, we are going to be implementing the functionality from PandaDoc into Lead Generated at some point. Like that's 100% on our list. Is every time I'm paying for software, if there's a way to not pay for it by building something, then I like to do that. So, but until then, I'm still using PandaDoc because we haven't even started the invoicing piece. I think it's going to be really good when we get it in. But here's the process. Let me share my screen and let's talk about how we can do this. So we've got, let me move this thing out of the way here. All right, cool. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so if we go to all leads, so let's say it's the end of the month and you've sent him like X amount of leads. A few of you guys were asking about the ability to have the invoice or the list of leads as a PDF. I believe that will be available tomorrow. We've completed that functionality. We just have a little bit of testing. So let's say that you've completed it or it's the end of the month and you're ready to send an invoice. So here's our process. First, let me switch this to all time and then try to find. Okay, so obviously you're going to keep this at 30 days, but this is an account with dummy data. So I don't have anything from this month maybe. So I'm going to do a search for like the month. So now I've got all these leads and I can come up here and I can export this. Since you're on paper lead, this will make a lot of sense. So you can add in all the columns that you want to be available here that can help this person identify this lead. So we're trying to make it really easy through transparency for them to connect the dots. Like this is a lead we sent you, this is the lead I received. So I like to put all the columns in here and you can save this however you want it to be. Like if you want to have this filter set up for next month, then you can save this up here. Then you export this. So now you've got a list of the leads that you're charging him for the month. Then you go into PandaDoc, like I said, $23 a month, and they have like templates that you can use. And what's great about PandaDoc is it incorporates directly with Stripe. So they can actually, there's a payment block you can add into PandaDoc and they can pay right through that. So they can click on it and they can put their credit card information in there and then Stripe will collect it and automatically add it into your bank account. Stripe will take like 3%, something like that. So that works really well. It looks professional and it's like you have the systems in place. So this like exporting is important for paper lead situations. I know that you're going to be switching to hopefully to like a flat fee long term. So in that situation, Stripe has like, you can set up a subscription essentially and put in the person's credit card information, and then you set up the frequency and when it happens. So for us, we set them all up on the first. So on the first, it just like bills all these different people. And then I can look through and I can see if anyone's payment failed, right? And then I can follow up with them. And sometimes they, it just failed for that day because they've like maxed it out for that day, especially on the first. But does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful. Just to backtrack real quick, for when you go to leads and then all leads, does that connect with CallSling? Because I still haven't even like set that up.
Yeah, so CallSling, okay. It will connect. And, okay. One thing to keep in mind is, especially when you do this paper lead, we've had issues with this. I know that Harry and I have had a few conversations. We have something called qualified calls. Let's just talk about that real quick. This can be really helpful when you're trying to find out what a lead is. So as your agency grows, there's this phone tap here. So once you connect your CallSling account, this qualified calls, you can turn this on for a company and I could say, hey, count this as a lead if it's 90 seconds. So what's going to happen is your calls are going to flow in to the system. And we intentionally do not add them as leads right away because there's a lot of telemarketers. So they go into this separate area. This was like I know after having a few conversations with Harry, this was a confusing part for him. And I would just want to make this clear for everyone is this all calls area is not meant to be the spot that you guys determine or like you guys take all the notes and all that stuff. This is like a holding area, all calls. It lets you see, just like the name sounds, it lets you see all the calls, right? Once you know that the call is like a legit lead, then you're going to want to move it into this all leads area. And what this qualified call filters does is it automates that process. So the idea is that the telemarketers are going to get left behind here, and only the calls that are real leads are going to get moved over into this all leads area, which is where you can kind of do the exporting and stuff. So you can set these rules. I'll tell you the rule that we use in our agency is I just leave it at 90 seconds because, and I don't turn on this. So basically what it's saying is like, if a call comes in and it's at least 90 seconds long, then move it from all calls to all leads, right? And you can stack these up where I could say, okay, if it's from this area, these area codes, and it's 90 seconds long, then move it. Or like, so these worked as ands. So it has to be all of these simultaneously for it to move, right? So this, in this situation, it would be an answered, a call that has a status of answered, that's at least 90 seconds long, that's from one of these area codes. If it meets all this criteria, then it's automatically going to move it. So as you, this is good for paper lead. It's good for any, regardless of what the payment structure is, but maybe it's more valuable for paper lead because then we can really start to understand automatically which calls are actually leads. This is going to filter out a lot of the telemarketers because I'm hoping that my client is going to hang up or get off the phone with a telemarketer within 90 seconds. And also, especially like the niche that you mentioned, where it's like a high dollar niche, I can almost guarantee you that it's going to take more than 90 seconds for them to have that phone call, right? So that's kind of like the break off point, but you can make this time period whatever you want, right? So you can do that through here. That's 75 seconds. So your process is going to be, you're going to connect your CallSling account. And then this is a company level setting, right? So I'm in the edit company area and I can go in here and set this up under the phone tab. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was super helpful. So I will do exactly that.
Okay.
And yeah, I did notice already because he actually did get another call. Now that I connected his number, there was another call today and it took over 90 seconds, but I don't know if it was like a real lead. I kind of have an inkling it was Home Advisor, like just because I can tell based on the other times they called me, but yeah, it makes sense that it would be like at least 90 seconds for them to like hash out the details of a bigger job.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I have kind of like more long-term plans to try to get some like transcription on the phone calls and start looking for words like Home Advisor and then like automatically mark that as spam. And then, stuff like that. That, like I said, that's more long-term, trying to get some of these other pieces that we've been working on, but I'm actively searching for ways to help us identify our leads more accurately by using those type of things. Because I know that's something that we all struggle with. So, okay, cool. So does that kind of get you set up from a system standpoint?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was looking to tackle tonight and before I have that meeting. So yeah, it was super helpful.
Let's do one more thing before we go. I'm going to show you this. I don't know if you guys, this is one of the areas that we use a lot in our agency, but it's not something I get a lot of questions on. So I'm suspicious as whether this is being used like it should be, or like we found it very useful. So once you go and you bring this client on, this is what I would recommend is creating a questionnaire. So this questionnaires module, you can create this. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to add in a default questionnaire, the one that we use in our agency, and then you guys can change it. But some of the stuff that we put in here is, let me just see if I can bring over my default questionnaire actually. So you can build these questionnaires to be whatever you want. And it looks super professional when you have a system like this, when you bring someone on, like just as you're talking about like, hey, how am I going to bill this person? Like there's probably a lot of questions that you're going to want to know about this guy's business. If this guy turns out to be a good client, or even if not, we have an information gathering process where all this stuff is just like perfectly in here. So like I know everything I want to know about these people's business, and it's saved and it's a part of their kind of account profile there for the entire time that they're a client for us. So I'm going to pull over from, okay, cool. So this is our development that we use. And this is, so basically the process is you build out the questionnaire, right? So I can add in whatever questions I want. There's some predefined ones here, but if I click on add new, I have all these options: a text field, a checkbox, radio buttons, drop-down box, text area, date, files. Files can be good for like logos or pamphlets or any of like their sales material that would help me tailor a strategy towards their business. So once you build this out, you can see up here at the top, there's a questionnaire name, there's a subject. So this questionnaire name is just kind of used internally for you to identify what it's for. Maybe you've got different questionnaires for different niches. Okay. And then it's going to be sent to them by email. So this is the subject of the email. And then you can add in a message. Okay. You can add in, I know that there was somebody that had mentioned they were having problems with the email addresses. We'll go over that in just a minute, but this allows you to choose what email address it comes from. So you can add in as many of your own email addresses and send from there. So if you have one for your agency, then you can send from that here. And this is where you would make that selection. And this is where you would put the name and then the button text. So there's going to be a message that comes to this person, and then there's going to be a button. When they click on that button, it's going to take them to the questionnaire that you built, and this will allow you to decide what that text is. So if you're Laurent, who is in French Canada, like maybe that button needs to be in French, right? So you have the option to do that there. Okay, so once they get it, it's going to look something like this, right? This is my questionnaire that we use in our agency. So you can see we've got the basic contact information. So up here, this is your details. You can see there is an option in here for like a header or something, right? So we're using the header. That's what that is, where it says your details, that's the header. So then we've got all these different fields that we're asking. So we're just getting basic information. Now I start to get company details. So this is really useful for conversion type stuff. So if I know that they've been in business for 20 years, I can start to put that on my lead gen and start to like help close and build trust. If they've won any type of awards or anything like this, how many crews do they have? So now I'm starting to understand where their business is, right? There's some important ones. The hours that you're open, maybe you want to change your GMB so that it accommodates the client, right? Any notable clients that you can use. This is great for credibility on a lot of our lead gens because it's going to this client. They've got some big clients, and I'll put the logos of their clients on our lead gens. And now the people that are visiting will start to trust us more. So this can improve our conversions. If you guys think about this conversion rate, right? So a good conversion rate might be like 7%, which means 93% of people are just leaving your site when they come to it, and 7% are either calling or filling out the form. Let's imagine that your conversion rate is at 3.5%. And then you make some changes, you build some credibility, and it goes from 3.5% to 7%. It's almost like you have twice as many people visiting your sites, like you're ranking for twice as many things. So I've always pushed that you guys take into account this stuff. So this is why this is important. It's like huge bang for your buck, right? So any other credibility items, so you can see like 1 million square feet installed, insurance coverage, like this type of thing. I'm pulling that out through this questionnaire. Promotional offers, that's going to help us convert too. Why should they pick you over the competition? This is an area where they can use their logo. As I was saying earlier to Paul, we'll put their logos on it sometimes. And then licensing, I've got their license number here. The types of clients that they're working for. Now, these ones I think are really important. You guys should all be asking, in my mind, you guys should all be asking these questions when you onboard a new client. What cities, area do you provide? List them in priority order. How many miles are you willing to travel? List the services you provide in priority order. So if you guys want to have more value for your clients, then ranking better for the services that they provide in the areas that they want to target. Like it may be that you've, let's say like you're in Vegas, right? So that's an area I'm really familiar with. So maybe you found somebody that services like Vegas and Henderson, and your site is in Vegas, but they really prefer the jobs in Henderson, but they also do Vegas. So this can expose that to you and let you know that like, hey, like I should really be targeting this other area because that's going to make this client more happy. And if they're more happy, then I have more value to them, right? Which means I can charge more, right? So this is how we can build better clients, by understanding this information. And this onboarding thing, it looks professional. It takes, once you build out this questionnaire and you send it out, it's like the first thing we do when we bring someone on. It's like when we're taking their credit card, I let them know, hey, I'm going to send you a questionnaire. No one ever has a problem with it. Like and what's great is like, as they type, this stuff is saved. So if they get busy and they come back to it, then their information is still saved in here the next time they load the page. So keyword ideas, this is not proved to be really useful for us, but sometimes they'll drop something in here that we hadn't thought of. Like maybe there's a different way to phrase the service that we're not familiar with. So we leave it on there. Minimum job size. We've been kind of toying around with the idea of saying putting a checkbox on the forms that say, I understand that you guys have a minimum of like $1,000 or something like this, just because it will weed out some of the garbage that is going to like our clients aren't going to want to deal with it. And, it's not going to work out. Usually the person isn't like, hey, I've got like a $90 budget, and then they get flipped over into like spending $2,500. It's just like, it's not going to happen very often. And, it's probably just worth it to give it up. Warranty I think that's a great thing to add. That's another trust factor. You can be mentioning that, on your sites, and it can help with conversion and let these people know that they're going to stand by their work. Any warranty details, and then lead delivery, what email address and phone number should stuff go to, and any additional things that we can use to help sell. So I think this is a really great way to kind of like onboard our new clients. And this is all saved. So if we go back in here, we go and look, let me go back. Right. Oops. So if we go to questionnaires and then all questionnaires, once this goes in here, you invite them. Like if they're in here already, you invite them. If they're not in here, you can always assign this to a user. But if I go and I look at the submissions, so it's saved in here forever. You can see that this Sandra Rodriguez is the assigned user. So if you're in the client area, then there's a questionnaires tab. So it's just kind of like lumped right in here. Another one that we do, hold on one second. Let me just back out of this so I don't expose any of my client's personal information from our test one. Google Postcards. So we use this one whenever we bring on a new client as well, because we tell them like, hey, I need you to get postcards for us. That's a part of working with us. It helps us. The stuff's going to be for you. So we try to leverage our clients' addresses. So we give them a little bit of, I explain it to them on the phone, and then we send them this with the person's name and the different locations. So this way, when they go through, like we're getting, like we've got it all organized, all the addresses. And then when someone fills out these questionnaires, we get notified. So we know that a new one's come in, and then my whole team. So I know that you're just getting started, right? But as you build your team, like my whole team has access to this, and they can go and they're actively looking at the client questionnaires to check stuff and looking if there's like, is there some service that we can go after that we're not targeting that maybe we can use it to get more leads. So I'm not going to remember that conversation 7 months from now, but if I've got it written down in here and I'm trying to like turn them into like from a $2,500 into like a $5,000 a month client, stacking on those extra services or those extra service areas can be really useful. So I encourage you guys, if you aren't using these questionnaires, to start to do it. It's certainly made things a lot more organized and scalable. And I think it's resulted in higher client satisfaction. So as you bring this client on, I think that might be useful for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was all super helpful. Now I feel so much more equipped to deal with the onboarding and invoicing stuff that I'll be dealing with tomorrow. So thank you.
Awesome. You are very welcome. Okay. So is there other areas in your business that you're struggling with? I know that you kind of came with some specific questions. Is there more stuff you want to jump into here?
Right now, really for me, it's just outsourcing more, putting more skin in the game and the outsourcing game and backlinking, because that's what's taken me the longest. And now I've kind of like figured out a system. but for 15 sites, if I want to make some traction on them in 3 to 6 months, I need to I do need some more help with those efforts. So I'm just looking to make some screencasts. Like I know you have another live where you talked about the way you can like make 5-minute videos and kind of chunk it out and give it to your VAs. So that's something I'm just like looking to do and see if there's other things I should outsource. Right now, what I outsource primarily is just like really small tasks. Like I have a VA who makes these YouTube videos to put on my sites, because I don't think it's like a make or break thing, but it potentially could help with the ranking since Google owns YouTube or whatever. And I just like having that visual to add to my sites. And then I'm also trying to do like some fast money deals. So I'm doing this like cold LinkedIn and email strategy where I bought this automation software the other day, and I'm just going to have my VA like help set up the campaign so I don't have to worry about it as much after I do the scripts. And then from there, I think backlinking is like my biggest thing in the lead gen game that I definitely need to outsource a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd encourage you guys, look, Greg's got a great backlinking training. One of the things that's been really good for us is finding these different sites where we can pay them to put a link, like a link insertion. So it's not like a blog comments or, some of that stuff. I know
I actually just got it today.
What's
so
that?
Yeah, I actually just bought that today because I was like on this backlinking like part of my mind. So yeah,
Right.
I'm really excited to dive into that.
Yeah. Some of the stuff doesn't work as like Greg's training now, I think is a couple years old, and I think it's super worth buying it and understanding it. The blog commenting and some of the things that were in the training, I think the last time, I don't know if they've updated the training, but the last I heard, the training was like 4 or 5 years old. Some of those strategies don't seem to work as well as they used to. And going out and finding these opportunities to pay for a spot in a blog and get like a link inserted. Those things are about the JK link circles. I think those are really good because they're going to be niche specific. You could be reaching out to someone that's not even offering a link. Like you could, if you have like XYZ in Vegas, you could potentially reach out to someone who's got XYZ in Detroit and be like, hey, I'm in the same niche. Can I pay you like $100 to put your link on my link on your site, right? Something like this. So thinking outside the box is, I think that's an important part of it.
For sure. I like something Ipe mentioned too. He does a lot of like guest posting. So like outsourcing some writing for those articles. And he also mentioned this strategy where he outsources making infographics in exchange for backlinks, because that's something that could add a lot of value to someone else's site. So all of those things, I need to systematize so I can have someone else help me with that.
I really think one of the two things before we go, like I think one of the best fast money strategies is the one that I mentioned it a few months ago, and then I mentioned it on last week's call, where you could basically pay a VA to buy a WordPress theme and load it and like almost be up and running in less than an hour and have a very professional site. That's a great fast money strategy. The second thing is, I think one of the first things to outsource is website building. Just there's like, there's just a dime a dozen of professionals for these people for only a few dollars an hour, right? So spending your time to learn to build a site when that is what you're replacing is like, $4 an hour, $3.50 an hour to have a professional person build the site for you. It just doesn't seem like the best use of your time. Like I'm not going to go learn to be a car mechanic. Like I would rather just like pay that person. I don't need to know how all that stuff works, right? It's the same mentality, right? There's like, that's a whole nother world, the website building. I know that there's the snaps, right? Is like supposedly makes it easier or whatever. But, I just think there's a better use of our time, right? Is like WordPress has been around for a long time. And it like, if there's people that have 10 years of experience that you can pay only a few dollars an hour and load theme, like it's seems like a great way in my mind. So
they look great. I actually did that. After you did that live, I had a VA, because I didn't have an agency site or any of that stuff. So I had a VA do my agency site on WordPress and then install the like different theme forest Avada themes on the tab so I can do that. But then I didn't end up having a good system to prospect at scale. So I kind of did like here and there, tried to pitch it, but now I think I can go harder on that as well.
I love how you're trying all these different things and you're kind of really going after it. I like that attitude. You're not like, it just seems like for you, it's just a matter of time before you're going to figure one thing out. Like, hey, I know that backlinking is weak, so I bought this course and now I'm going to like go after it and understand it. And like, that's the mindset that leads to success, is like this, like problem solving. I understand I have a problem. How do I solve it? I'm not going to like complain or, you know, it's just a matter of time before I find a solution. That's kind of what I feel from your vibe. And I think this is going to be long-term. I think that's just going to lead to success for you. So congrats on your first, sounds like you're going to have some money coming in finally for your first one, which is great.
Yeah, it's exciting. And like you were talking about before too, or maybe some people in the chat, I don't know, like in the beginning, sometimes when you're so excited that you're about to have a client, you want to like pitch some more upfront cost or like an onboarding fee. So I was almost like thinking if I should do that, but I think because it's my very first client and I've already like, you know, spent the time and money on the site, I'll just stick to pay-per-lead to try to build that trust. But I mean, I think it's a good idea that people do all that, and I'm kind of navigating that as well. Or for the next prospect, maybe I'll give the different options. Like you said last time, this is a go slow package, this is the go fast package, and try pitching different things and see what works.
Yeah, excellent. I were you, I would definitely be spending a lot of my time as well on trying to rank these sites that you've built. Like, right.
Yeah.
And you know that it's going to be 3 to 6 months. So let's like make sure that 3 to 6 months starts now and not like 3 to 6 months from now. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
That is all for me.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And these lives have been super helpful.
Yeah, it's great to hear.
Different ideas and mindset building.
Very cool. What part of Vegas are you in?
I live in Henderson now. I actually used to live like right around the corner where Devin lives now. So when I first moved here about 2.5 years ago, I lived in Rhodes Ranch for a while.
Ah, excellent. Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you a little bit. I know that we've kind of messaged back and forth a few times in the past, so it's always nice to be able to put like a real face with it. So let me know if you have any other questions with this. Anybody else have any questions before we jump off here for the night? Jeff, have I missed any?
Not seeing anything, Patrick.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's end this the way we end it, which is going to be our habit. Let's take the actions that we need to do over the next 7 days so that we have some wins to celebrate next week, guys. These weeks, it might seem like a repetitive message, but they stack up. And if you are not creating wins this week and you're not creating them next week, then like you're not going to have wins in your business, right? You've got to be taking these actions that create this stuff. It's up to you, each one of you guys, to be the person that is going to create this business for yourself. Like if you know that you have a weakness or a blind spot that you're just kind of like ignoring because you don't want to go after it, like that's an issue, right? And you need to be like doing whatever you need to do. No one is going to come to save you from this. So let's take the actions between now and so today is the 2nd. So you have until the 9th. Who's going to create wins before the 9th, right? So it could be something small. It could be putting stuff in motion. But I encourage you guys to get in the game, right? There's a lot of people that are on here each week that aren't sharing wins, and you guys need to like check yourself and make sure that you're doing what you need to do to move this forward, right? Like we don't know how long we have, so we've got to be aggressive with getting the results that we want, right? If we want to change our life, if we want to have more freedom, whatever it is, like we need to be aggressive. And, you know, I'm doing my best to try to push you guys in that direction, but ultimately it's up to each one of you guys to make that decision. So let's make a big deal of it this week. Let's create some wins. Let's have an awesome week. And if you guys have any other questions, then just hit me up in the group or, you know, post in the group. And, you know, it seems like we're getting a lot of steam in here, a lot of people helping each other. So I appreciate all the stuff that you guys do to help each other. It's really, it's awesome to see what we've kind of created here. So, all right, you guys have a great week and we will talk soon.
Great call. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.